Hey, viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist, and welcome back to Say Being Hunted, episode 460. Couldn't just say 460 now, could I? So, I'm back with another podcast-style episode here. Last episode I was talking about... What was I talking about? Oh god, I can't even remember. It's been a few days since I recorded. Good lord. Something or other, whatever it was. I'll have to check. I don't know. Okay, right? My memory's not serving me good this afternoon. It's a weekend as when I record this. Things are quiet over here in the UK, and essentially I've just been busy doing various things over the course of this morning, more essay marking as well as a bit of a housework. And now I'm having my chill out afternoon of just sitting back, maybe play a few games, get a few things block recorded, as I do and all that. You know, that reminds me though, I did get a comment recently from someone over on, well, it was on one of my videos, I can't remember which one exactly, but essentially just asking, because, you know, as of lately over on the channel, I've been doing really well for getting lots and lots of content out, because obviously, you know, I have my base schedule, which is like uploading or publishing at least one video per day, but the last sort of week or two I've been doing really well in terms of getting bonus content out as well. So essentially I've been effectively uploading 2 videos a day. Now admittedly some of those videos haven't been huge, they haven't been long ones or anything like that, but it was interesting to see that question, like I said, that someone once left on a video of mine recently, just asking, you know, how do you find the time to do all of this, Red? And the reality is that whilst I did answer that comment, you know, it's an interesting topic of conversation, because the answer really to that question, which I'll talk about here, is, well, essentially I have to really manage my time effectively. And the thing is, you know, I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes here about the General Red Strategist channel on this video. So, you know, here's the thing, right? A lot of video game YouTubers, when they talk about what they do, and they talk about the amount of work that goes into things, about, like, you know, in terms of recording videos and then actually editing them, things like that, there's a lot of work that does go into that, you know, from their perspectives. But the thing about mine is, I mean, what you got to remember is that I am not obviously a professional YouTuber. I don't earn money off my channel or anything like that. I've said this repeatedly before in the past. And whilst, you know, if one day my channel was actually to go popular to the point where it would be financially viable for me to make it into a career option, whilst, you know, I would consider that, at present obviously it's not in that kind of position. Because, you know, most of my videos, you look at the number of views they get in the space of, like, the first week as of when they're released, they don't get a lot. So, as a source of potential income, my channel is just not viable at all. You'd be earning peanuts over the course of a year, basically. But because of that, that also means that there's not really a lot of point, I would say, in me kind of spending a lot of time making really crazy, well-edited videos with a lot of complex editing wizardry to them, if ultimately, you know, it's just not, it's not earning me money or anything like that. And ultimately I do what I do because I find it fun as a hobby. That's what I do it first and foremost for, which has always been my approach to YouTube. And so the thing is, when you look at my videos, I'm not saying they're badly edited or anything like that. You know, they're fine when you watch them. Nobody's ever found my videos to be of a bad quality as a result of, like, terrible editing decisions or just shoddy, I don't know, visual quality or anything like that, barring of 1 or 2 exceptions. And so the thing you've got to understand about me is that, like, if you want to know what basically kind of tools I actually use for things like video editing, stuff like that, here's the thing. I am going to admit, I do not use any fancy tools for video editing or anything like that, right? And the thing is, for a lot of people who are starting out with, like, doing video gaming content, things like on YouTube, I think there's this kind of big impetus, this big pressure on them. They feel like if they're not using certain tools or programs for editing, things like this, I think they feel like that means that they're just amateur and they're not putting in the effort. Because the thing is, like, I remember when I started my channel years and years ago, and I was wondering, what kind of video editing software am I going to need? And every time I search that on Google, what are good video editing softwares for, say, like gaming channels, things like that, I would always get answers, or the typical answers that would come up would often say things like, oh, you need programs like Sony Vegas Pro, Adobe After Effects, things like this. Which is... The thing about that is, I looked into what the prices of some of these programs are, and they are fucking expensive. You're talking hundreds and hundreds of quid on, say, like Sony Vegas Pro, something like that. And I think to myself, if you're just starting out on YouTube, hoping that one day it might become a career, with no guarantee that it will, that you'll ever earn any sort of money off it, that's an insane amount of money to throw down just on one piece of software. And so, here's my honest advice to you starting out, anybody starting out on YouTube. Don't feel the need to plough lots and lots of money into a video editing software if you don't think you're going to get much use out of it. Here's the thing, I do have... Let me tell you, right? I have only two real sort of major pieces of video editing software, right? One of them is literally the default Windows movie making program in Windows Photos. That is literally the program that I use to just compile my videos. The only other software I have is Magic's Movie Edit Pro 2013, which I occasionally use if there is a particular video where I want to do something special. For example, let's say I want to have a video where I have multiple bits of footage overlaid on each other, or I want to have images that appear at certain times over the footage, things like that. That's the time I'll use Magic's. Or for example, if I want to make some new outro slates, I'll use Magic's for that. Basically, in short, when you're starting out on YouTube, think of it this way. I would say only really get some specialist video editing software if you can envisage yourself making the sort of videos that would require it. So basically, check out the default Windows movie editor function in Windows Photos or whatever. It has some limited functions to it, though obviously it doesn't have anything particularly complex. But check what it can do and ask yourself this: is this good enough for my videos, or would I want something that can go further? And your answer to that may well be, okay, I feel like I want something further, in which case, fine, go and inquire into something. But here's the thing, don't immediately think you have to fling down lots of money on friggin' Sony Vegas Pro or something that costs friggin' ridiculously hundreds of pounds or whatever, when you could actually probably search for slightly cheaper budget alternatives. Here's the thing, Magic's Movie Edit Pro 2013, back in the day when I bought it, didn't even cost me 100 quid. It was like 60, which is fucking mountains of difference compared to other video editing software programs. And admittedly, there will be stuff that even a program like Magic's can't do, but it does enable me to do a fair amount of stuff if I want to do a fair amount of weird editing wizardry or anything like that. So that's one thing to know. And the thing is, on that subject of editing wizardry, I talk about this thing about programs because here's the thing, right? If you look at the majority of the videos on my channel, in terms of the actual footage, there's nothing particularly special about them. It's basically intro slate, footage of me playing the game, outro slate, right? And because of that, what that means is that when I'm actually putting videos together in my video editing software, it doesn't take long. Essentially, I just put the bits in there in the right order, then have it compile the footage. And that's literally it. That's all I do. So it's not that long to actually put a video together on my channel. Now, some people will look at that and they'll go, Jesus, that's really amateur, isn't it, Red? And yeah, it is. Because the thing is, I know, a lot of professional YouTubers out there, they do things like recording their video and their audio separately, in separate programs, for example. So they'll have their video recording software, whether that's, I don't know, Fraps, Bandicam, OBS, whatever it may be, shadow play or whatever, and then they'll have something like Audacity open at the same time, recording their audio, and then obviously what that means is they then have to sort of match the audio and the video files up in the editing process, which isn't necessarily super difficult, but again, it can sort of add extra time onto the editing process. Now here's the thing about me, I don't do that. I just use Bandicam, and I have Bandicam record my video and my audio, so it's all in one file. Now obviously what that means is that sometimes there will be times where I have to do a bit of audio wizardry with a game before I start recording it. So for example, opening up Windows volume mixer. For example, if I have a game where the in-game audio is super loud and risks drowning out my commentary. But it just means that it saves editing time. And because it saves editing time, that means effectively I can record more actual episodes of games and then actually put them out on the channel, you know, at a fairly frequent rate. And it also means I do have more and more opportunity, because I have more time to basically record videos. I have more and more opportunities to record bonus content as well, which is why I've just been doing really well recently. Now, obviously, people shouldn't expect bonus content to be a constant on the channel. There will be times where I won't be able to do that. But yeah, that just explains a little bit there. And I've also said probably before about how when I do get opportunities to record episodes in my series, like I say, I tend to block record stuff. I block record lots of it. I don't just record, you know, 1 or 2 episodes. I'll try and record a fair amount of stuff across as many games as I can play in that one session, just so that way I've got tons of material to keep me going for at least a week or two, and that way it just kind of compensates for the fact that obviously I do have a full-time job and I do have other commitments outside of YouTube which obviously do take up time. But by block recording like that, it just means, you know, I've got plenty of stuff to work with just in case my next opportunity for recording is delayed or whatever as a result of stuff IRL. So that's another little point to bear in mind there. And on top of that, it's also about, essentially it just comes down as well to really effective time management, personal time management. So for instance, if I'm recording a podcast style episode of Sir like this, I'll have like a stopwatch or a clock on my desk in front of me, and I'll make a specific note of when I start recording. And you know, obviously there have been multiple occasions before in the past where I say that, but where I've basically accidentally it slipped my mind when I actually started recording, so I end up forgetting how long I've been recording for. But you know, those tend to be the exception rather than the norm. And by keeping an eye on time, you can sort of aim to keep episodes to a certain length, maybe about sort of 15 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes or whatever. And the beauty of doing that is that, you know, by ensuring your videos don't go over a certain length, it just means that, in essence, you can try and record more of them per hour. So then you've got more to work with, so you've got plenty of stuff then to go out on the channel. See what I mean? Which is also sometimes why I do tend to avoid, not always, but it is one of the reasons why often you see a lot of shorter games on my channel rather than full-length long titles. Obviously there are exceptions to that, like the Danganronpa games, for example, the Tomb Raider games I've been playing as of recently, like Tomb Raider 2, or indeed Death Stranding. That was another exception to that rule. But I tend to avoid games of those kind of lengths unless I'm really, really interested in them, just because, obviously, with those sort of games, because they're so long, I end up kind of having to do longer episodes, which means fewer videos recorded per hour, to put it that way. But that's not to say I don't do games like that from time to time. So yeah, that's just something there as well to bear in mind. I do tend to emphasise things like shorter games, or stuff which kind of lends itself more to episode lengths of about 15 to 20 minutes, there or thereabouts. So yeah, good to know that there, ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, there will be times where I do longer length stuff, as I've said, because sometimes longer length stuff is fun to do. You know, sometimes an RTCW episode might go up to, I don't know, potentially up to like 40 minutes or whatever. But yeah, it's like I say, it's about time management as well, and just being kind of disciplined with yourself. So that's something else. So yeah, I was just thinking about, like I say, that question someone asked me in the comments once about how, I find the time to do all these recordings, given that I do have a full-time job. And, that's honestly the answer right there. Number one, time management. Number two, seizing every opportunity I get for recording. And number three, it also helps that, I am pretty much an amateur YouTuber, and I'm not really seeking to do anything particularly special editing-wise in my videos, which as a result of that just means that my editing time for compiling videos, for putting them together, is pretty short. Oh yeah, and the other number 4 point, block recording stuff in advance of when it's actually going to be uploaded, so that way I can give myself plenty of time to work on it. Because that's the thing, if you take some of the videos on my channel which do have more complex editing wizardry behind them, like for example my Steam reviews videos, because they're probably actually one of the exceptions on the channel. They are an example of something that does take a while to edit, but basically that just comes down again to effective time management. So what I'll do is, with those, right from the start of the month, I'll be keeping an eye on the Steam store page in an evening, and maybe just quickly print screening any funny comments on any games that have been released over the month, saving them on. And the thing is, I'll be sort of recording audio and trailers for those way in advance of when that video is actually going to get uploaded. And the thing is, I won't necessarily, complete the editing process on those videos in one go. I might work on those videos over the course of several weeks, in which case it's about kind of pacing myself as well. So that way I'm not just kind of spending huge amounts of time on, say, one day trying to kind of blitz the whole thing. Instead, I can sort of balance it around real life commitments. Similar kind of point as well, actually, that is relevant here, is with my Very Red Gmod story video from Christmas 2022, Christmas 2021, the Very Red Retaliation one, because that was a huge video with a lot of editing stuff that went into it. So you're probably asking, how did you find the time for that one? So in answer to that question, with the Very Red Christmas 2021 video, here's the truth. I was working on that video on and off over the whole course of 2021. It's basically, I was working on it pretty much from New Year 2021, sort of gradually forming the idea for it, cohering it in my head, literally writing out a rough script, recording the footage that I needed in Gmod, then recording all the audio that I needed for it as well, finding good music tracks, things like that, and SFX. And like I say, that video, it wasn't something that I kind of blitzed the entirety of in the winter of 2021. It was something that I had been progressively, slowly working on over the course of that entire year, hence why I was able to do that. So once again, it comes back to just being kind of committed to yourself and just managing your time very effectively, like I say. So yeah, that hopefully answers that comment, for anyone else who might have been interested in how I do things for General Red Strategist. And like I say, I admit it's very amateur, some of the stuff that I do, but here's the thing, is it bad? No. As far as I can tell, people enjoy my videos, people find my videos watchable, they don't ever sort of say, oh, Red, the editing of this is really sloppy or whatever. On the contrary, sometimes people kind of commend it and say, you know what, I really enjoyed that. And that's a great feeling, And it just goes to kind of show that you don't necessarily need, depending on what it is you want to do on YouTube, you don't necessarily need to buy crazy expensive pieces of editing software or things like that in order to succeed. And the thing is, if at the end of the day you just want to create something fairly simple and straightforward, sometimes default tools on Windows can work perfectly well. Let's take my thumbnails on videos, for example. You might be thinking, How do you make those red? Do you have specific like art programs or anything like that you use? No, I don't. Do you want to know the honest truth about how I make my thumbnails? Basically, I go into Microsoft PowerPoint. Yeah, that's right, PowerPoint, ladies and gentlemen. The software that normally one would use for putting together slideshow presentations. And what I basically do is, using that and a combination of Microsoft Paint in order to get the dimensions for YouTube thumbnail sizes right, I essentially will maybe just kind of like get a square shape in Microsoft PowerPoint, and I'll just fill it out with images. And I'll find like PNGs online of things like titles for games that I'm playing, stuff like that, so I can just put those in there. Because the thing is, Microsoft PowerPoint actually has a load of cool graphical options. It's got like options for transparency, soft edging, glow effects on text and images, things like that. It's got a thing where you can remove the background from images, stuff like that on it. It's like, why the hell do I need to buy some fancy graphics editing software when literally Windows' own default tools in Microsoft Office will actually suffice, and I can use those? There's no point. Sure, it sounds amateur, but what's the point of spending loads of money on something which you might not really use all that much, when actually there is more basic software that's either default with your system or at least very cheap, which literally can do all the same kind of things? There's like no point. It's a no-brainer for me. And at the end of the day, it's all these things added up which enable me to produce videos and get them out on the channel at the rate that I do. Now obviously if I was to start kind of going for more complex videos, that would of course, you know, it would affect the channel in the sense that I probably wouldn't be able to upload or publish videos quite as frequently. But there you go. And the thing is, I have no inclination to do that at this stage, because so far, what I have produced does seem to generally go down okay with my viewers. So, why change that right now? Because there's no point. Because like I say, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I don't earn money off this. It's not my #1 commitment in life. So there you go. Little behind-the-scenes episode of Sir You're Being Hunted, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, like I say, it's very amateur, but it works. So who cares if it's amateur? There you are. That's all I'm going to say on the subject. I want to get to the standing stones, deposit these device pieces, and then we'll wrap the episode up, I do think. So in that case, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you found that a very interesting topic of conversation to go through. I certainly did. It wasn't actually the topic I was going to go through, but I just sort of got sidetracked and decided, fuck it, I'll make this the topic. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed, a like is always appreciated. More than that, Facebook and Twitter links down below, along with a link to my propagandist channel, which admittedly has not been updated in months, because that is an example of somewhere where videos take ages to edit, and which therefore I just don't find myself getting much time for. I need to update that channel, who knows. So yeah, other than that, I'm going to sign off now. Goodbye all. So we went to go this way, okay. Aha! Oh, what the fuck is this? What have we found here? This looks bizarre. Okay, hold on. Should have recognised. I was detonating that TNT. Oh no, there's another guy. I saw another guy. Wait, was he on a fucking skateboard? Oh, you son of a bitch, don't you do it. There's something down there. Oh, is that a gun? Is that a gun I can get? Please, oh no, it's Magnum clips, I don't want... Oh my god, he's got fucking Uzis! He's actually a dude on a fucking skateboard! Motherfucker, stop shooting my freaking corpse, why don't you? Flippin' heck. Oh my god, so there's another dude we have to deal with now.